Have you ever taken a photo that looked busy or flat, even though your subject was amazing? I know I have. You know the feeling. You see something beautiful, grab the shot, and the result just doesn't do it justice. I've been there many a time. Here's the truth. It's not your camera holding you back, it's your composition. Master this one skill and you'll instantly elevate every photo you take without buying a single piece of new gear. Today we're going to break down the art of composition in a way that's simple, inspiring and fun. I'll show you some of the rules, why they work, and how breaking them can help you create your own style. And stick around because there's a great bonus at the end that not many photographers talk about. It could completely change the way you shoot. I've been shooting for over 35 years and teaching for more than 20. I've seen every mistake imaginable, including all of my own. And through it all, I've learned that good composition isn't about being artsy, it's about making your photos clear, powerful and emotionally connected. And here's a quick one. Composition isn't just about arranging things in the frame, it's about directing your viewer's attention. Think of yourself as a film director within a single frame. And if you want to deepen your foundations, grab my ebook, The 3 Essential Pillars of Good Photography, completely free when you sign up for my monthly newsletter, link below. Okay, here's what we're going to cover in this one. Why composition matters, the science and story behind it. The core rules and how to use them in any shoot. The psychology of seeing, what makes an image feel balanced. When and how to break the rules creatively and with confidence. And a bonus section on visual weight, the secret ingredient of standout images. Okay, before we talk about the so-called rules, let's talk about why composition matters. Our eyes are amazing. They see depth, motion and color in real time. But a camera flattens the world into 2 dimensions. So we have to recreate depth and focus using composition. Maybe think of it like hosting a dinner party. If everyone sits in random chairs and starts talking at once, it's a mess. But when you seat people with intention, the conversation flows. Composition does the same thing for your photos. It arranges the visual conversation so the viewer feels comfortable and engaged. And here's where it gets fun. Once you learn to see like a photographer, you'll never look at the world the same way again. Every shadow, every leading line, every patch of light becomes a tool to tell a story. Each of these rules is a tool or a guideline, not a law. Think about your camera bag. You don't use every lens every time. You pick what's best to fit the scene. This one you may have heard of. Imagine a grid of 9 equal boxes. If you place a subject where the lines intersect, it creates tension and balance. Our eyes naturally move to those areas and it can make the image a whole lot more engaging. And this works for portraits, landscapes, product shots, and pretty much anything you can think of. I remember teaching a class where a student lined up every horizon dead center. Then once she tried shifting it to the top third, her landscape suddenly came alive. And sometimes even a simple alteration changes everything. And some may say that the rule of thirds is overused, and maybe it is, but it's easy enough to grasp and it works. Roads, paths, rivers, fences, even shadows, they can all be used to lead the viewer to your subject. They're like visual arrows pointing the way and can work really well. The trick is to have the lines lead somewhere, but be aware, if the lines lead out of the frame, the viewer's eye leaves the photo, so you'll somehow need to guide them back in. If you haven't tried leading lines yet, give it a go for yourself. Maybe even set yourself a little challenge to make a series using leading lines. Which reminds me, we'll do another photo challenge over on our photography foundations in school. Free to join if you fancy it. There's a link for you in the description. Our brains love order. It feels reassuring. And symmetry works beautifully for architecture, reflections or abstracts. But if you break it up slightly, you'll get tension or asymmetry if you like, and that could help a photo come alive. Think of a song with a steady beat and then one chord from a different key. That chord is what makes it interesting. The same with a photograph. A bit of tension or something unexpected adds another dimension and gives it a lot more interest. Framing or frame within a frame is a really powerful compositional technique. You can use doorways, arches, trees or windows to frame a subject. It adds depth and focus. It's like saying, look here, this is what matters. And it's very effective in drawing the viewer's eye. The frame can be the foreground or created by light or shadow, and it doesn't always have to be a full frame. And even colour can frame a subject when used effectively. And framing is one of my favourite techniques. Give it a try and see how you get on. Now let's talk about one of the most misunderstood concepts in photography, negative space. This is the power of less. When you give your subject room to breathe, that empty area around it, a sky, a wall, a simple background, it does something incredible. It makes the subject feel important. Why does it work? Well, because our brains naturally look for something to focus on. When there's a lot of empty space, the eye automatically latches on to what's not empty, in other words, your subject. It's a built-in survival mechanism. In a busy scene, we search for calm. In an empty one, we search for meaning. So negative space creates emphasis. It tells the viewer, this is what matters. And it also creates mood. A lone tree against a vast sky can feel peaceful or lonely or powerful, depending on your intent. It's perfect for portraits, minimalist landscapes, still life, or any image where you want simplicity and impact. And if we compare it to music again, it isn't just the notes, it's the pauses between them that creates the feeling. Negative space are those pauses in photography terms. I hope that makes sense. So when you frame your next shot, ask yourself, is there enough space for my subject to breathe? Sometimes doing less creates more. Now let's flip that idea completely, because sometimes the best way to strengthen a photo is to do the opposite, fill the frame. This technique is all about getting in real close, removing distractions and letting your subject take over the image. Why does it work? Well, because when you fill the frame, you're removing context, and by doing that, you force the viewer to see detail. And our brains love detail. Texture, pattern, colour, these are all cues that keep us engaged. And psychologically, filling the frame creates intimacy. When you're in that close to a subject, it feels personal, as if the viewer is right there in the scene. That's why this works so well for portraits, street photography, and macro shots. For example, if you photograph a market stall full of colourful spices from a fair distance, it could look chaotic, too much information. But when you move in closer and really fill the frame, just the textures and colours, the image transforms. It becomes graphic, patterned, almost abstract. The chaos turns into design. So whether it's a portrait, a flower, or a street detail, move in and crop out the noise and make a subject unavoidable. Because sometimes the best way to say, look at this, is to take everything else away. And don't be afraid to crop the edges of a subject, like food on a plate, for example. You don't need the whole plate. You don't always need the whole thing in the frame. Our brain will fill in the missing parts. Filling the frame is a very powerful concept, as I'm sure you'd agree. Now let's talk about something more subtle, balance and visual tension. Balance is how you arrange elements so the image feels stable. When a photo is well balanced and nothing feels like it's about to fall over, the viewer feels grounded and comfortable. But if you make it too balanced, it can also feel static, safe, even boring. That's where tension comes in. Adding a bit of visual unease can bring a photo to life. So why does this work? Well, because our brains are constantly seeking equilibrium. When something feels slightly off, our eyes stay in the frame, trying to resolve it. That little bit of tension helps keep us engaged. You can create it with contrast, a bright object on one side, a dark shape on the other, or with scale, a large subject balanced by something small but striking. You can even use colour. A warm object on a cool background creates both balance and energy. Maybe think of it like a seesaw. Too much weight on one side and it tips. But add just a little bit of difference and that playful wobble, and suddenly it's a bit more interesting. Balance and tension are the heartbeat of good composition. They give your images structure and energy. And this isn't about getting all technical or overthinking ratios. It's about feeling your photo. It's simple, it's fun, and when you start to see it, you'll never unsee it. So next time you're out shooting, ask yourself, does my photo feel grounded? Or does it feel flat? Try shifting one element, brightening one area or cropping slightly differently, and see how it changes the energy. Maybe even revisit old images and see if you can add some tension to try and take on a different meaning. Okay, now let's dive into something that most photographers never even think about, the psychology of seeing. It's a massive subject, but here's a quick overview. Every time someone looks at one of your photos, their eyes start a journey, and you're the guide. Within a split second, their brain is deciding what's important here. We process images in milliseconds, and our eyes don't move smoothly, they jump, darting from one point to another. They're drawn to three things first: brightness, contrast, and human elements. So as photographers, we can use that knowledge to control the viewer's experience. Bright areas pull the eye, dark areas hold it. High contrast commands attention, while soft gradients feel calm. Colour also has power too. Warm tones like red and orange jump forward, while cool tones and blue and green slip back. So why does this matter? Well, because composition isn't just about where things are placed, it's about how they're perceived. When you compose an image, it's essentially saying, look here first, then here, then feel this. Our brains love simplicity. When a composition has a clear visual path, the viewer feels relaxed and rewarded. When it's chaotic, the brain has to work harder and it gives up faster. That's why good composition just feels right, even to someone who knows nothing about photography. It's wired into human perception. This is where light, colour, and subject placement become your tools. Bright light is like a spotlight on a stage. It tells the audience where to look. Shadows add mystery and depth. Colour leads emotion. And here's the fun part. You can use this knowledge to evoke feeling. Want energy? Use diagonal lines, strong contrast, and warm tones. And if you want calm, use soft light, horizontal lines, and cooler colours. So next time you take a photo, don't just ask, what am I photographing? Ask, where will my viewer look first? Because that's where your story begins. First of all, they are not really rules. Think of them as guidelines. And anyway, breaking the rules is where creativity kicks in. Rules give you structure, but breaking them gives you your style. For example, instead of the rule of thirds, put your subject dead center for power and intimacy. With symmetry, break it to create drama. Negative space, fill it with energy or movement instead. And again, just like music, you learn the scales so you can write your own song. Imagine how boring music would be if composers didn't think outside the box. Same with photography. And here's a little challenge for you, or homework if you like. Check out the work of photographers you admire and figure out if they're sticking to the rules or going full-on rebel. Let me know in the comments a few photographers you admire and let me know how you get on. Now for making it all the way this far, here's that bonus for you. The part most people never talk about, visual weight. This is the invisible magnet of an image, and it means where the eye is pulled first. Bright colours, high contrast, faces and text all carry weight. And if you can learn to balance them, you control the viewer's experience. And don't worry, like anything, with practice and exploring the work of others, you'll get there. For example, a red jacket in a field of green will dominate even if it's a tiny part of the frame. Warm colours advance and appear to come forward, while cool colours recede and seem like they're coming back. With deliberate placement, you'll be able to create depth. And when I mention this in my classes, I've seen light bulbs go off, and that aha moment when photographers understand how colour alone can guide the eye. Oh, and there's a thought. For the next photo challenge over in our Photography Foundations community, showing how you've used colour or visual weight. Why not join in and let's all learn together? Okay, so let's wrap this up. Composition isn't a checklist, it's a conversation between you and the viewer, if that makes any sense. With the rules, understand why they work, then break them with confidence. Remember, simple, inspiring and fun. Next time you shoot, choose one rule to focus on, master it, then intentionally break it. Compare the results and let me know in the comments how you get on. I read and respond to everyone. And if this video helped, give it a like and subscribe. Why not watch this one next? Don't forget your copy of the ebook and check out our Photography Foundations community for more practical, real-world learning. I'm sure you'll love it. Thanks so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you soon.